Whenever we hear the words body count, we usually picture a pile of Templar corpses, guards dropped into haystacks, and a clean, stylish air assassination. But we already did that. And today, my Cupids, is a day where we will not discuss the body count, but the body count. To see if the assassins were only good at killing, or if they were also good at rizzing up ladies too. From Altair to Yasuke, we will talk about each and every protagonist to see how many of them actually used their hidden blade. Altair is regarded as one of the most dangerous assassins to ever set foot on this earth. And that's not even an opinion, that's a 100% fact. But despite being so deadly feared and skilled, my boy low-key lacked the social skills to actually impress a woman. It's heavily implied that Altair had almost zero female interaction in his entire life, which honestly makes perfect sense when you look at his reaction the first time he sees Maria in Assassin's Creed 1.
Someone else.
What sorcery is this?
Bruh.
But enough of the jokes, let's answer the real question. How many women did Altair actually have a thing for? The answer is very simple. In the game, Altair's Chronicles, which is canon by the way, Altair is sent by Al-Mualim to recover a piece of Eden known as the Chalice, which on further investigation turns out to be a woman, and not just any woman, she's described as immensely beautiful.
Oh yeah.
But throughout the entire game, Altair is basically chasing her, and the moment he finally finds her, she gets taken away by the Templars. So before my guy could get any action, it was literally stolen from him. Although he does promise that he will come back for her, but we all know how true that was. Then comes the original Assassin's Creed, which you already know. Altair meets Maria Thorpe while searching for Robert de Sable, until he unmasks her and gets absolutely flabbergasted. They only have a brief interaction there and Altair goes right back to his mission. But luckily, their paths collide again in Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. And this is where things start getting real. This is the point where Altair begins developing feelings for her, the banter, the tension, the silent respect, it was all there. And after the mission, they eventually fall in love as confirmed later through the bleeding effect scenes in Assassin's Creed 2. So, yeah. I think this is where Altair finally got laid and showed her his true hidden blade. Other than these two, there's no credible evidence that Altair slept with or even romantically pursued any other woman in any shape or form. So this proves one thing. Altair was dangerous, but he was hella loyal. Like seriously though, do I really even have to emphasize this guy? Ezio is the epitome of Riz in the entire series, and by far the only guy who had more women than any assassin as far as I know. But let's dive deep into his affairs to see how many women he actually wrecked. Starting with the very first serious relationship he most probably had was with Cristina Vespucci. Prior to that, he must have had some relationships or one-night stands with some French girls as mentioned in Brotherhood. Now, why I say Cristina is the first? Because in the Cristina memories as seen in AC Brotherhood, Ezio was being tutored by his brother on how to approach girls. And Cristina was the girl he worked things out with. Later in the prologue of AC2, right after that iconic scene, he meets her again and for some reason her face is changed. And he straight up bangs her. But it wasn't his last voyage. Later, after he leaves Florence and decides to become a full-time assassin, he meets many allies including women. In early sequences during his brief stay in Forli, he meets Caterina Sforza, whom he saves and gains a soft corner that he will use later on. But before leaving Forli, he also engages in a horse race and after winning, he lays with his competitor which many people speculate is the ancestor of Clay Kaczmarek, since Ezio is also his ancestor, who is better known to most people as Subject 16. Then, when he reaches Venice, that's where the fun really begins. After years of fighting Templars, Ezio probably missed the comfort of having a cat. So he meets a thief and assassin, Rosa, who was saved by him after she had an arrow in her knee. And she also taught Ezio how to climb faster. And after this little friendly gesture, they both engage in a very romantic relationship, where it's also implied that they might have slept multiple times too. But since the relationship ended in a very abrupt and sudden way, we don't really know what happened later. And since he literally spent half a decade in Venice, it isn't like he went full on monk mode, right? He definitely had other adventures too. During the Carnivale, he meets Cristina again, who by the way is now married, and this dude right here kisses her like it's Tuesday. I genuinely feel bad for her husband. And after this little incident, he keeps on meeting her in different time periods, but during the same overall carnival era, he's also aided by a brothel owner who is also a nun, and after he successfully eliminates a target for her, she rewards him by sending her girls to Ezio, which he probably soloed. But my guy wanted her too. Just look at how he was flirting. So until AC2, he officially has a body count of 10 plus. In Brotherhood, as soon as the game starts, he gets softened by Katarina, and from that point to Revelations, he's seen having no real romantic relationships. Instead, he's mostly shown remembering Christina for most of the time. Finally, in Revelations, my guy finds love again, and settles down with Sophia Sartor. And after marriage, he has 2 kids with her. So counting all of his love interests, one-night stands, and casual encounters, Ezio's body count is easily somewhere around 11 to 15. But hey, at least he had a happy ending. If Ezio is the Riz King, then this guy is his exact opposite. Connor wasn't an extroverted or talkative guy, instead he was reserved, focused, and goal-oriented, which also made him one of the most disciplined assassins to ever exist. And from the beginning of his life to the end of Assassin's Creed 3, we literally never see him showing feelings for any woman. Like, bro was built heavy, has strong facial features, but still chose to focus on goals, not the whole. I tried my best to look for any romantic interest of his life in the game or in any other media, and sadly I found nothing aside from one pretty well-known fact that you probably already know, which is that he married a blonde woman at some point later in his life and had a few children. Out of them, we actually see his daughter in one of the comic books where she possesses a unique form of eagle vision, allowing her to see through the eyes of a bird. But why does Connor never show emotions? After digging for a bit, I found there are 2 reasons. One is obviously the trauma he experienced as a child, and the second is Native American traditions. In their traditions, they're strictly discouraged from showing emotions because it can distract them in battle. And this is why Connor never really engages with any female or shows an ounce of love in the base game or any media, aside from his wife obviously. So naturally, this makes his body count 1. Similar to Connor, his father Haytham is also very disciplined and straightforward. And it's not because we don't see much of him, it's because he's just wired this way. Just like Connor, he also lost his father, and for a 9-year-old boy, watching your father get killed is the least you can expect. On top of that, the Templars inducted him into their order and shaped him into a cold, calculated killer who showed little emotion. Throughout Assassin's Creed 3, we see him killing targets without remorse and not even showing fear, which means his mind is strong and he cannot be broken. But it all changes when he meets Ezio, who plays a very key role in his mission to America. At first, he most likely thought of using her just for the sake of his mission, but after spending time with her and getting to know her struggle and lifestyle, he started falling for her. And once he finally reaches the temple, he realizes that there's no way to open it. And that's where he expresses it. And he makes out with her. A lot of people may say that he was just using her, but his reaction after Connor tells him about her fate says everything. Because for a guy who literally kills every day, hearing about someone's death shouldn't come off as a shock unless that person actually mattered to you. So again, just like Connor, Haytham's body count is only 1. The final Kenway on the list, and probably the wildest one, is definitely Edward. He wasn't stoic and emotionless like Connor and Haytham. In fact, he had a mix of both traits, but most of the time he was jolly and lighthearted, which makes his personality way more believable and honestly more relatable too. But does he also have the same body count as his son and grandson? Well, technically no, not even close. As a teen, he fell in love with Jennifer Scott, a noble woman from a well-off family, and because of their status, there were complications, but they married one way or the other. Now, what does this mean, lads? It means Edward's first ever sexual encounter was canonically with his wife. Okay, until now, things are pretty good. But what about the time when he left for the Caribbean? Well, if we calculate the time it takes to travel from one region to another, that's easily a few days, and when you spend days with a pirate crew, you're gonna have needs. And Edward understands this pretty well. In the game itself, we literally see him sleeping with other women quite often in cutscenes on his island. But there's one more thing you probably don't know. Once you upgrade your mansion on your island, you can sleep with 2 women on your bed. It isn't shown for obvious reasons, but you can literally do that. Furthermore, in the very first mission of Havana, Edward describes prostitutes to Bonnet in a way that clearly indicates past experiences.
A few dozen reals for every hour of knowing.
And if we also consider the cinematic trailers, which are non-canon by the way, we also see him sleeping with multiple women there too. So before leaving the West Indies, Edward should easily have a body count of about 15 to 20 plus, simply because of his lifestyle and travels. And after he returns to England, he finally settles down and marries Tessa, his second wife, from which Haytham was born. So that adds 1 more to the count. When you think of Shay, the only things that come to mind are stoicism, retribution, and protecting the people. But please, cut my guy some slack. He was goal-oriented, sure, but that doesn't mean he never had a love life. Shay's never explored that deeply, but between the game and other pieces of media, we do have enough information to work with. In the game itself, there are clear hints that he had a thing for his fellow assassin Hope Jensen. There's genuine chemistry between them, and even when he kills her, the White Room confession plus his facial expressions say everything. But did he ever actually rest his blade with her? Not likely. They had a fling for each other, but it wasn't deep enough yet. If they stayed together and kept working side by side, it probably would have become reality. Anyhow, after the events of the game when Shay is older and nearing the end of his life, he most likely married and started a family as indicated by the novel Assassin's Creed Descendants, where it's shown that he had a son and a grandson. So even though he didn't bang Hope, he definitely banged someone else, and that makes Shay's body count 1. Without a doubt, the first thing that I personally think about when I see Arno is simping. And that's not even a joke, it's literally how his character is built. As soon as we take control of him, he's following Elise, and ever since then, my boy basically commits his entire life to her. So much so that because of her, he sneaks into a party and gets himself locked up. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. Did he do it with her? Yes. Not once, but multiple times throughout the story. Now the second question, did he have flings with other women too? That's a yes and a no, because there's a debate on the novel, but for the sake of this video, in that novel it's mentioned that Arno had a thing with other women too. The count isn't known, but to make a safe assumption, let's just say it was 3 or 4. Now the next question is, after Elise's death, did Arno ever do the deed again with someone else? And the answer again is yes. Because as we mentioned in our older videos, he did eventually get married and he even had a son whose descendant ended up being the main character from the Assassin's Creed movie. So if we count everything canon, the count comes to 6, but if we discount the novel, it's just 2. Arno definitely tried to be Ezio, but my boy ain't Ezio. Okay, now this was an interesting case. Both Jacob and Evie are among the few protagonists who actually enjoy life and try to make it colorful. Let's break them down separately. For Jacob, his case is a bit complicated. Early in Ace's Syndicate, there's no clear mention of a love interest, but it's heavily implied that he's not exactly the loyal type. And it's not hidden. The game openly portrays this through his attitude and personality. It's also heavily implied that he had some body count even before the events of the game, because Jacob is the kind of person who prefers to explore life rather than deeply invest in one person. How many though? It's unlikely to be massive, but if we consider his age and the time period, he is 21 at the start of Syndicate, and in that era, it was common for late teens to be sexually active. Plus, London's prostitution was booming, so a safe assumption would be 2 to 4. But it doesn't end there. During the game, he meets some ladies and there are hints of romantic tension, though nothing full-on is shown. And here's the most interesting thing. Out of all the women you know, which character he actually had an intimate moment with? You'll be surprised to know that it's none other than Maxwell Roth. Yeah.
What the hell? Oh my god, no way, yeah.
That's the moment Jacob discovers he's bisexual and it opens the door for him to explore intimacy more freely. But that doesn't mean he wasn't sexually active with other men and women along the way. Now for Evie, her case is much more straightforward. She isn't the type to let love interfere with her work, and the only person she's ever attracted to is Henry Green. This is her one and only relationship, which eventually leads to marriage and a family. So putting it all together, Jacob's body count is roughly 8 to 10 and Evie's is just 1. Now we're entering the territory with characters that will blow your mind. But for a smooth start, let's begin with Bayek. I mean, this guy, he's a literal angel. Never swears, never disrespects anyone, and is just a genuinely humble human being. As a Magi, he rarely gets time for relationships, and even if he did, he's not the type for one-night stands or short-term flings. The only person who ever captured his heart and reigned over it forever was Aya of Alexandria. We will not dive deep into how they met and all that here since we already covered it in our backstory video. But in short, he was madly in love with her, or her Greek pussy we should say.
Yeah, boy.
He got married, had a son, and lived a pretty good life until tragedy struck and their son died. That forced them to leave their comfort zones and create opposition against tyranny. In doing so, their marriage ended and they separated. But that doesn't mean either of them just went off doing whatever they wanted. They stayed deeply loyal to one another, and even in old age, Bayek is seen admiring her as shown in a letter in AC Valhalla. Later in Origins itself, we even see their mummies together in the modern day. So do you really think Bayek had another body count? Hell nah. His body count is just 1, and that's with his wife only. Not only that, but his commitment to her is unmatched. And this is one of the many reasons why I personally love Bayek as a character. Are you guys ready for this? Because this gal right here smacked the entirety of Greece, let alone beings beyond your comprehension. But how true is that claim? Let's break it down. AC Odyssey is an RPG, meaning you can do whatever the fuck you want with a free hand. And that includes creating relationships with NPCs, and even sleeping with them. So yeah, this part of the video is interesting because it all depends on the player's choices. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's divide it. First, the canon love interests. There are only a few relationships Kassandra practically engages canonically. One of them is Kira, the woman who asked Kassandra to come on her island for aid against the Athenians. The second confirmed love interest and body count is Natakas, Darius' son. This dude not only banged her but bred her, which eventually led to AC origins and you know if you know. Okay, enough with the canon stuff, now let's give our girl a free hand and see how far she goes. Hold your breath because the names are insane.
You killed his mother and fucked his pater.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
If you flirt and sleep with everyone, both genders obviously, the people she sleeps with are Adessa, which we meet very early in the game, Alcibiades, our favorite orgy master, Oxysia, the pervert old woman, Lycaon, the Rizzler physician, Daphne, the muscular hunter, Costa, the fat freak, Xenia, her mother's assistant, and don't even ask how Kassandra survived her, Teletus, who's Kira's love interest, and obviously Kira herself, Dione, the twin sister of a cultist, Roxana, a proto-Olympian athlete, and finally Mikos and Zopharas. And if you think that's it, that's not it, fellas. We still have the DLCs, although the number is small, but let's talk about them anyway. In Legacy of the First Blade we have Natakas, as mentioned before, and in Fate of Atlantis we have Adonis. And that's pretty much what we all know. She lived for 2,000 years. Imagine how many kids she might have wrecked. Oh shit, does that mean Kassandra and
Jeffrey Epstein.
Jokes aside, looking at this, her body count becomes roughly 14 to 15. Valhalla continues the tradition of romances introduced in Odyssey, but it adds one major twist. It makes relationships permanent. In other words, if you romance someone, you can keep it going free to make out whenever you want. This makes Eivor a bit of a serious character, not just a slut. That said, depending on your choices, she also has moments of short-term flings and one-night stands. Canonically, there's only one heavily implied love interest, and we'll talk about that later when we discuss the possibility of free real estate, which also includes the romantic encounters of our guy, Odin. But if you decide to let Eivor have the time of her life, here are the options. Bill, the earliest short-term romantic encounter in the game, Petra, the first long-term romance option, Broder, you encounter him in England during her sister's wedding, Gunnluth, found in Asgard where you help her on an errand, Randvi, Sigurd's wife and possibly the most likely canon love interest, a long-term romance that even affects the storyline, Stowe, although labeled as a romance option but you actually cannot mate with him, Stiger, from a roast battle to a one-night stand, Tarben, found in your settlements once you build a bakery, Tudor, found in the Gloucestershire arc and you can romance him or just keep it platonic, and Vili, another possible canon love interest and Eivor's childhood friend. You can either romance him or leave him be. And that's just the base game. In the DLCs, there are a few more. Chiara from Wrath of the Druids, an Irish poet you can romance, and Pierre from Siege of Paris, a companion in missions you can romance. For Odin, the canon love interest is obviously Frigg, which is well known at this point, so counting all love interests, short-term flings, and long-term relationships, the body count of Eivor and Odin comes out to around 12 to 13 max. Basim isn't a playboy type like Ezio, Jacob, or Arno. In fact, he's serious and committed, more like Shay. Fun fact, he doesn't even have any love interest in Assassin's Creed Mirage's main story. People sometimes mention Nehal, but she's more of a friend than a true lover or romantic interest. So in Mirage, it's all about the assassin stuff, no love story like in Unity. But if we dig into his past as Loki, things start to make a lot more sense. The whole point of him sabotaging Sigurd and Eivor in Valhalla stems from how Odin imprisoned him and opposed his love for Alethea and the children he had with her. Yes, Alethea was his one and only true love, and it was because of her that he even ended up in Valhalla, otherwise he probably wouldn't have become an assassin at all. Even in the story itself, Basim never interacts with any woman freely or casually. He sticks to his core mission, exactly what he does in Valhalla as well. So while his personality may seem boring to some, he remains fiercely loyal to his one love, Alethea, taking countless risks for her and standing by her even in the modern day. And this thing makes his body count just 1. Shadows being the most recent entry brought back the traditional RPG elements, and yep, you guessed it right, romance options are back. The game borrows elements from previous AC titles like dual protagonists and a focus on stealth, but the romance system is a mix between Odyssey and Valhalla. Before the release, the devs added a canon mode for players who want a definitive experience without RPG shenanigans. And in this canon mode, neither Naoe nor Yasuke has any love interest. But that doesn't stop us from looking at all the possible romantic encounters in the game. Both protagonists have plenty of characters they can romance, and unlike Valhalla or Odyssey, most of them aren't soulless side characters, they're part of the story. For Naoe, since she's young and exploring life, her romantic encounters include Gennojo, the first possible romance. You engage with him while doing missions and learning his backstory to recruit him into the Brotherhood. Now you can choose to romance him or not, but that's basically your choice, as he's a literal fuckboy. Then we have Katsuhime, a talented marksman, and you encounter her in one of the main story quests. Then Koshiro, a brave ronin wandering in search of purpose. Then Mayu, a widow whom Naoe takes advantage of. Now coming to Yasuke, the romance options cover both genders. Many of them are allies, but still worth noting. Likely the canon romance, as she is one of the only few people who were kind to Yasuke when he arrived in Japan. Ibuki, an ally Yasuke recruits, who he can romance. Rin, a villager whose story develops as you spend time with her, opening up romance options. Lastly, Hori Hidemasa, a loyal retainer whose story intertwines with Yasuke, leading to intimacy. So canonically, neither of them has a confirmed love interest, but given the RPG freedom, we can safely assume both Naoe and Yasuke had 4 love interests each, giving a combined total of 8. And honestly, compared to the others we've talked about, these are just rookie numbers. And that was it for today's video. It was very interesting, so we decided to share with you. Anyway, if you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Till then, take care and goodbye.